Hi there, my name's Christian, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about newsletters. Around this time last year, I started my own newsletter, but this talk today isn't really about my newsletter, it's about yours. I think that you should start a data visualization newsletter today, and I'll be giving you some reasons why I think that, as well as some of the tips and things I've learned over the last year of writing mine. First of all, what is a newsletter? It's a good question. Very simply put, it's effectively just a blog that gets sent directly to people's inboxes. People will subscribe to your newsletter, and they'll receive new editions when you write them and send them out. I can hear you ask why you might want to do this. Now, newsletters are extremely popular nowadays, and I think the main reason for this is that the internet is a complicated, very busy, very messy place. It's a really great way to cut through some of that noise and hear from people who you're interested in hearing more about. As somebody writing a newsletter, you're bringing your unique perspective and sending it directly to the people who are interested in the same things as you. My newsletter is called Source Target. It's about graph visualization, a sort of subset of data visualization, and I talk about graphs and networks and similar topics, and that's a good foundation for what I want to talk about in my newsletter. When we're thinking about content for your newsletter, you should really write about something that you're definitely passionate about. We want to hear your perspective on things, and we don't want to hear about something that you're looking to learn more about, and something that you have some sort of expertise or some sort of knowledge about, so you can share things of interest. So my first recommendation is definitely to write what you know. Choose something that you like to talk about and write about that for your newsletter. Over the course of the last year, I've written nearly 40,000 words for my newsletter, which was a shock to me when I looked it up. But really, the writing that you do and the length of each edition of your newsletter is completely variable, and it's really up to you. It can be as short as you like or as long as you like. What's most relevant and most important for your newsletter is your voice and your message. What have you found? Why is it interesting, and how did you find it? And the whole backstory is the sort of thing that your readers will want to hear about. They often say that the best way to learn about something is to tell someone else about it, and I think newsletters are a great vessel for doing that. Writing is definitely thinking, and it's definitely learning about topics that you like to write about. So my recommendation for you on this would be to find a friend. So show someone your first edition before you send it out and see what they think. See whether it's the sort of thing they would like to hear more about. It's a great way to get feedback and to get input on what you're writing about. The other benefit of finding a friend is that you will need that first subscriber, so it's a good place to start. Over the course of the year, I've used my newsletter as an outlet for some of the side projects I wanted to work on in my domain. Just to be clear, you don't have to do your own little projects, but this has worked out really well for me. Writing my newsletter every 2 weeks means I have a little bit of a deadline. It means I can focus on getting something out and getting some feedback from my readers and see what they think about what I've built. About halfway through the year, I really took to heart the idea of done is better than perfect. By working towards my newsletter, it meant that I had a deadline every few weeks and I could get these things out and get feedback instead of worrying about the little details of each of these individual projects I was working on. So my third recommendation is definitely to keep at it. Choose your schedule. Maybe you want to write weekly, monthly, every other week, and keep at it. It's really gratifying for me to look back at the year and see all the editions and all the writing that I've done and all the projects that may not have come out if I hadn't had started the newsletter itself. I have a few recommendations to finish off for today. First of all, one of my favorite newsletters is by a Data Visualization Society member, Duncan Gear. Duncan writes about every 10 days about the things he's been working on as an information designer, and I think it's a really nice insight to how somebody works, and I've learned a lot of things from his writing. Another newsletter that I recommend to pretty much everyone is Edith Zimmerman's Drawing Links. It's not about data visualization, but it's a really nice example of how newsletters can be very creative. And she has little webcomics about her day-to-day and some of the things she's come across, and some of the recommendations she's given have been really great for me this year. To finish things off for your newsletter, I have some suggestions for how you can get started. First of all, Buttondown is the service I use to get started. There's lots of services nowadays, but Buttondown has a very generous free tier, so it's great to get started and handles all the sending and all the writing for you. Substack is also very, very popular. You've probably seen it online. But one of the best things about newsletters is there's really a very, very low barrier to entry. You could easily just write something and send it out to your friends and your family, and there's very little involved to getting started that path as well. So if you want to just get started, just email it out. That's all I wanted to cover today. I would love to hear from you if this has inspired you to write your own newsletter. There's my email address at the top. Happy to receive any questions or comments about the talk today. And of course, if you'd like to check out my newsletter, you can head to sourcetarget.email and you can become my latest subscriber. Thanks so much for